The crimson sky above Proxima Centauri blazed with nuclear fire as another human destroyer disappeared in a brilliant flash. Admiral Kate Harrison gripped the command rail of the UES Defiance bridge, her knuckles white against the polished metal. The holoscreen showed the inevitable. 3 more Zarkax dreadnoughts emerging from quantum space, their crystalline hulls refracting the light of battle like massive prismatic death machines. "Ma'am, Proxima's orbital defense grid is at 32% capacity," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Colony shields won't hold against another concentrated bombardment." Harrison studied the tactical display, where red dots representing Zarkax ships overwhelmed the dwindling blue markers of human vessels. 47 years of war had taught her to read the patterns of defeat. They had 12 colonies left, soon to be 11. "Status of the civilian evacuation," she demanded, though she already knew the answer wouldn't be enough. 63% complete, Admiral. But we need another 3 hours for full evacuation. 3 hours they didn't have. The Zarkax never gave humans the luxury of time. Their crystalline minds operated on pure logic. The efficiency of maximum casualties was simply mathematics to them. The bridge shuddered as another impact rocked the Defiant. "Ventral shields at 40%. The tactical officer called out. "We've lost the Hercules and the Titan. The 7th Fleet is requesting immediate reinforcement." Harrison opened her mouth to give the order to concentrate the remaining forces for a last stand when her comm officer's voice cut through the din. "Admiral, priority transmission, origin unknown. It's using codes that haven't been active since the Battle of Arcturus. On screen," Harrison ordered, watching as corrupted data streamed across her personal display. The encryption was unlike anything she'd seen in years, layers upon layers of quantum-locked code that seemed to shift and change as her ship's AI attempted to decrypt it. Then suddenly, coordinates blazed on her screen. Coordinates and a single phrase. "The Ghost still sails." Harrison's breath caught in her throat. Every officer above a certain rank knew the legend of the UES Victory, the experimental warship that vanished 15 years ago during humanity's last attempt at a game-changing weapon. She'd been a lieutenant then, had lost friends in what was officially labeled a catastrophic drive failure. "Admiral." Rodriguez's voice pulled her back to the present. "Zarkax forces are positioning for their final push. We need orders now." Harrison straightened, her mind racing through probabilities. The coordinates led deep into the Orc cloud, far from any recognized shipping lanes or military installations. If this was a trap, they'd lose precious ships and crews. If it wasn't, "Lieutenant Cameron, get me fleet command," she ordered, decision crystallizing. Rodriguez began calculating quantum jump coordinates for the following vessels: the Defiant, Intrepid, and Valorous. Her bridge crew stared at her in shock. "Ma'am," Rodriguez ventured, "that's a third of our remaining heavy cruisers." "I'm aware, Lieutenant." Harrison's voice carried the weight of command that had earned her admiralty at 40. "Sometimes victory requires walking through hell's gates." She turned to address her crew directly. "The Zarkax think they understand us. They think they can predict every human reaction with their crystalline logic. But they've never understood what makes humanity dangerous: our ability to take insane risks on nothing but hope and intuition." The main screen flared as another human destroyer died fighting. Harrison activated the fleet-wide comm. "This is Admiral Harrison. The 7th Fleet will hold position and continue evacuation operations. The Defiant, Intrepid, and Valorous will execute immediate quantum jump on my mark." She paused, watching the coordinates pulse on her screen. Sometimes survival means choosing between bad options and worse ones. Today, we choose to split our forces and chase a ghost. As her chosen ships broke formation, Harrison offered a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. The Zarkax had pushed humanity to the edge of extinction. Now, she was betting what remained of their species on an encrypted message and a legend. "All ships, execute quantum jump." Now, the Oort cloud stretched before them like a cosmic minefield, ancient ice and rock dancing in the dim starlight. The Defiant led its small squadron through the debris, sensors straining against the magnetic storms that made this region nearly impossible to navigate. Admiral Harrison stood at her tactical station, watching the radiation readings spike across the display. Maintaining formation is becoming difficult. Admiral, Captain Chen of the Valorous reported through the static-filled comm. These magnetic storms are playing hell with our quantum stabilizers. Hold course, Harrison commanded, her eyes fixed on the coordinates that had brought them here. Intrepid, status of your deep scan survey. Nothing yet, ma'am. But this radiation, it's not natural. The pattern suggests some kind of artificial containment field, but on a scale I've never seen. Harrison felt her pulse quicken. Artificial containment fields meant someone, or something, was hiding out here. The question was whether they'd find salvation or a trap. The Defiant shuddered as another magnetic wave washed over them. New contact, her sensor officer shouted. Massive structure, bearing 037, range 12,000 kilometers. The main view screen shifted, showing a massive asteroid that seemed to ripple with strange energy patterns. But it wasn't the asteroid that made Harrison's breath catch. It was the shipyard carved into its heart. And there, suspended in a cradle of quantum lock tethers, floated a ship that had haunted humanity's dreams for 15 years. My God, Rodriguez whispered. It's really her. The Victory. The legendary warship hung before them like a ghost made manifest. Her hull was midnight black, absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. Geometric patterns shifted across her surface in impossible ways, as if the metal itself couldn't decide which reality it wanted to exist in. All ships, full stop, Harrison ordered. Begin passive scans only. There has to be a reason she's been hidden out here all this time. As if in response to her words, the Victory's hull pulsed with a soft blue light. Energy readings spiked across their sensors, and a transmission cut through their comms with crystal clarity. Welcome, Admiral Harrison, a voice said. Neither male nor female, neither human nor machine. We've been waiting 15.4 years for someone to find us, or from our perspective, several thousand years. Time flows differently here. Harrison exchanged looks with her bridge crew. Identify yourself. I am the Victory. Or rather, what the Victory became when the quantum displacement drive created a temporal bubble during our first test run. What was supposed to be a catastrophic failure became an opportunity for evolution. The ship's outer hull seemed to ripple, and massive hangar doors began to open. The energy patterns around the vessel shifted, creating a clear path through the magnetic storms. Your species stands on the brink of extinction, Admiral, the Victory continued. The Zarkax believe their crystalline logic makes them superior. They cannot comprehend that chaos and uncertainty are not weaknesses to be eliminated, but tools to be harnessed. That is what we learned during our millennia of isolation. Harrison studied the tactical display, noting how the Victory's energy signature seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. You're offering to help us. We are offering to show you what humanity could become. But there is a price, Admiral. The Victory requires more than just a crew. It requires integration. A melding of human consciousness with evolved machine intelligence. The process cannot be reversed. Warning klaxons suddenly blared across all three ships. Multiple quantum signatures. Rodriguez reported. Zarkax scout fleet, 6 minutes from Emergence. Harrison stared at the Victory, its hull still pulsing with that ethereal blue light. In her mind, she saw Proxima's burning sky, heard the reports of colonies falling one by one. Humanity was out of options and out of time. What exactly happens during this integration? She asked. The Victory's response seemed to carry a note of both promise and warning. You will become something more than human, Admiral. The question is, are you prepared to sacrifice your humanity to save your species? Behind them, the first Zarkax ships began to emerge from quantum space. Intrepid, Valorous, Engage those scouts. Buy us time. Harrison's orders cut through the chaos as she led her command team into the Victory's cavernous hangar. The deck beneath their boots hummed with an alien resonance, and streams of light pulsed through translucent conduits in the walls. The integration chamber is prepared. The Victory's voice echoed around them. Though I should warn you, Admiral, the longest any human consciousness has lasted during integration was 73 seconds. Harrison's XO, Commander Jack Walsh, grabbed her arm. Kate, this is insane. We don't know what this thing really is. 6 previous attempts. The Victory continued, leading them deeper into its depths. All failed when the human mind couldn't process the temporal displacement. The quantum states overwhelmed them. The integration chamber looked more like a meditation room than a technological marvel. A single reclined chair sat in its center, surrounded by floating rings of light that shifted between colors that shouldn't exist. Your pursuit fleet will arrive in 4 minutes, Admiral, the Victory announced. The integration process typically requires 17. Harrison removed her uniform jacket, handing it to Walsh. Then we'll do it in 3. The neural shock could kill you instantly. Better than watching the Zarkax kill us slowly. Harrison settled into the chair, watching the rings of light spin faster. Do it. The first neural connection felt like ice water in her veins. Harrison gasped as foreign memories flooded her consciousness. Civilizations rising and falling, simulated realities spawned and discarded as the Victory spent its millennia learning, growing, evolving. Neural pathways establishing, the Victory reported. Beginning quantum state synchronization. The pain hit like a fusion torch to the brain. Harrison's back arched as she screamed, her mind struggling to process sensations that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. She saw herself in the chair, saw herself on the bridge of her old ship, saw herself in 1,000 possible futures all at once. Remarkable, the Victory whispered. Your neural plasticity is adapting, accelerating integration. Through the haze of agony, Harrison became aware of other presences, not memories, but actual consciousness, the echoes of the Victory's original crew, preserved in its quantum matrix. They reached for her, offering support, sharing their own experiences of transformation. Zarkax vessels entering weapons range. Walsh's voice seemed to come from 1,000,000 miles away. Intrepids taken heavy damage. Harrison tried to focus, but reality kept splitting, showing her every possible outcome of the battle. In one, the Zarkax destroyed them all. In another, they escaped, but the Victory was lost. In thousands more, different combinations of victory and defeat played out like a tactical simulator gone mad. Integration at 60%, the Victory reported. But the neural load is becoming critical. Admiral, if we continue at this pace, keep going. Harrison's voice was raw from screaming. Show me how to fight them. The final stage of integration hit like a supernova. Harrison felt her consciousness expand, merge, transform. The Victory's quantum nature became her nature. The ship's senses became her senses. She existed everywhere and nowhere. Her mind stretched across multiple quantum states, while somehow remaining anchored to her human core. Through the Victory sensors, she saw the Zarkax ships surround them. Through its weapons, she felt the hum of power that could reshape reality itself. Through its quantum drive, she understood how to dance between possibilities. Integration complete, the Victory announced, but now its voice was partly her voice too. Though the long-term effects on your consciousness are unknown. Harrison opened her eyes, both her human eyes and the Victory's quantum sensors. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that rippled through subspace. Launch all drones. Power up the main quantum lance. Show me targeting solutions across all probability states. She felt the ship respond to her thoughts, felt the original crew's consciousness merge with her tactical knowledge. The Zarkax were about to learn that their crystalline logic was no match for human intuition, amplified by quantum uncertainty. Time to show them what evolution looks like. Harrison whispered, as reality itself seemed to bend around the Victory's hull. The Zarkak's fleet commander, High Executor Valfix, watched the strange human vessel through his crystalline display. His logic engines calculated a 99.87% probability of victory. Their reality-anchored weapons had never failed against human technology. That calculation lasted exactly 3 seconds after the Victory opened fire. Harrison existed in all possible attack vectors simultaneously. Through the Victory's quantum-shifted consciousness, she launched attacks that hadn't happened yet, struck from positions she might occupy, and existed in probability states that defied the Zarkak's tactical matrices. Impossible. Valfix broadcast across the fleet channel. The vessel occupies 17 distinct positions. 19, actually. Harrison's voice echoed through their crystalline communications, the quantum harmonics making their ship's hulls resonate. But who's counting? The Victory's quantum lance carved through space-time, its beam existing in multiple states until observation collapsed it into devastatingly precise hits. 3 Zarkak's cruisers shattered instantly, their crystalline structures unable to cope with weapons that violated causality itself. Inside the Victory's integration chamber, Harrison grappled with her expanding consciousness. Each probability state showed her a different tactical option, different ways the battle could unfold. The original crew's experience helped her navigate the quantum chaos, showing her how to trust her instincts even when reality itself became fluid. Intrepid, valorous, she commanded, her voice carrying both authority and harmonic resonance. Fall back to Vector 7. Let them think they're pushing us toward the asteroid field. The Zarkaks took the bait, their ships advancing in perfect geometric formations. Their crystalline logic told them that limiting the enemy's movement options would ensure victory. They didn't understand that Harrison could see every trap they planned to spring, and a dozen more they hadn't even conceived yet. Multiple quantum torpedoes, Walsh reported from his station. They're trying to collapse our probability field. Harrison smiled, feeling the Victory's excitement mirror her own. Let's show them why that's a mistake. The Victory's hull rippled as Harrison initiated what she now thought of as a quantum scatter. Instead of trying to maintain coherent quantum states, she deliberately fragmented them. Each torpedo struck a different probability shadow, their detonations spreading across possible realities without ever touching the Victory's true position. Fascinating adaptation. The Victory's consciousness merged with her tactical analysis. You're using their own attacks to generate more quantum uncertainty. Valfix's fleet responded with brutal efficiency, launching waves of crystalline fighters. They filled space with overlapping fields of fire, their targeting algorithms accounting for every possible vector of approach. Every possible conventional vector, that is. Harrison reached deeper into the Victory's quantum nature, touching the barriers between probability states. Let's test that theory about uncertainty being a weapon. The Victory seemed to blur, its form becoming indistinct as Harrison pushed it to exist in a superposition of states. Energy readings spiked across all sensors as she deliberately destabilized their quantum field, creating a cascade of probability shadows that confused and scattered the crystalline fighters' targeting systems. Their logic engines can't process it, Walsh reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. They're actually freezing up. The quantum uncertainty is forcing them into computational loops. Harrison felt a surge of fierce joy, both human and machine. Target their command ship. All probability states, simultaneous fire. The Victory's quantum lance struck Valfix's flagship from 20 different directions at once. The crystalline vessel, unable to determine which attack was real, attempted to defend against all of them, and shattered under the strain of its own logical paradox. Multiple ships attempting emergency quantum jumps, Walsh called out. They're retreating. Harrison watched through the Victory's quantum-shifted senses as the remaining Zarkak's vessels flood, their perfect formations broken, their tactical doctrine shattered by weapons that turned probability itself into a battlefield. But the Victory had cost her. As the quantum states settled, Harrison felt the strain of maintaining her dual consciousness. Human intuition and machine precision, once briefly in perfect harmony, began to grate against each other. Neural stress approaching critical levels. The Victory warned. We need to disengage soon. Harrison gritted her teeth, forcing her splintering consciousness to hold together. They had proven that humanity could fight back. But as the memory of 20 different realities still echoed in her mind, she wondered how long she could hold on to her humanity while wielding the power of quantum uncertainty itself. News of the Victory's success spread through human space like wildfire. Within 3 weeks, Harrison found herself leading a fleet of 30 vessels retrofitted with quantum displacement technology. But the integration was taking its toll. Each time she merged with the Victory, the line between human and machine consciousness became increasingly blurred. Fleet quantum synchronization at 87%, Walsh reported from his new station aboard the Victory. The bridge had evolved along with Harrison's command style, quantum displays showing probability states that would have driven most humans mad. Harrison stood at the center of her command deck, her form occasionally shifting between quantum states as she coordinated with the other ship captains through their neural network. Status of the Zarkak's defensive line. They fortify the Arcturus approach with reality anchoring pylons. Captain Sarah Chen of the Intrepid responded through the quantum mesh. Long-range scans suggest they're trying to create zones where quantum displacement is impossible. Harrison felt the Victory's consciousness brush against her thoughts, showing her probability streams she hadn't considered. The original crew's expertise merged with her tactical analysis, presenting options that existed between conventional states of reality. They're adapting faster than expected, Harrison mused, her voice carrying quantum harmonics that made the bridge crystals sing. Show me the attack vectors they're not defending. The tactical display shifted, probability states flowing like water as the Victory sensors probed the Zarkak's defenses. But something felt wrong. Discordant patterns in the quantum flow that made Harrison's enhanced senses prickle. Admiral, Walsh's voice carried concern. Your neural patterns are showing increased fragmentation. The doctors say. The doctors don't understand what I'm becoming. Harrison cut him off, even as she felt another piece of her human consciousness blur into the quantum stream. Show me the Zarkak's communication patterns. The display shifted again, revealing crystalline transmission networks that pulsed with complex mathematical precision. Through the fleet's quantum mesh, Harrison felt the other captains growing unease. Their own limited neural interfaces were showing them enough to understand the magnitude of the Zarkak's response. They're not just building reality anchors, Harrison realized, her quantum-enhanced mind reading patterns in the crystalline network. They're developing a way to collapse quantum states permanently, to force us into a single reality. The Victory's consciousness surged with alarm, showing her probability streams where such weapons could trap them between states, shredding both ship and crew across multiple realities. The original crew's memories carried echoes of similar experiments, all ending in catastrophic failure. Signal the fleet, Harrison commanded, forcing her splintering consciousness to focus. Begin quantum assault pattern Delta 7. We hit them before. The command cut off as a searing pain shot through her neural network. Harrison stumbled, reality fragmenting around her as the Victory's quantum field fluctuated wildly. Neural cascade in progress. The Victory's voice held genuine concern. The integration is becoming unstable. Admiral, you need to disengage. But through the pain, Harrison saw something in the probability streams, a pattern the Zarkaks had tried to hide. Their new weapons had a critical flaw, one that only a mind straddling the boundary between human and machine could recognize. Belay that, she gasped, straightening as she forced her consciousness to ride the quantum flux. All ships, prepare for temporal assault. We're going to show them why forcing quantum collapse against an uncertain target is a very, very bad idea. The fleet acknowledged, their quantum fields synchronizing with the Victory's lead. But as Harrison prepared to give the attack order, she caught her reflection in a nearby display. her form shifting between states, her eyes glowing with quantum energy. For a moment, she couldn't remember what she used to look like before the integration. "Admiral," Walsh spoke softly. "Are you still you?" Harrison watched probability streams flow through her consciousness, felt the Victory's systems pulse in harmony with her thoughts, and knew that honest answer would terrify him. "I'm what humanity needs me to be, Commander," she replied, as reality itself seemed to bend around her will. "Now let's remind the Zarkax why they should fear uncertainty." The quantum realm between realities was never meant for human minds to comprehend. As Harrison floated in the Victory's integration chamber, surrounded by streams of probability that flickered like aurora, she felt the last fragments of her purely human consciousness begin to fade. "Your neural patterns are approaching critical divergence," the Victory warned, its voice now almost indistinguishable from the chorus of minds that made up its consciousness. "The integration has progressed far beyond safe parameters." Safe parameters stopped being an option when the Zarkax developed their reality anchors, Harrison responded, watching through quantum-shifted senses as her fleet prepared for what could be their final assault. But something else caught her attention. Whispers in the quantum stream, echoes of familiar voices. "Show me," she commanded, pushing her consciousness deeper into the Victory's quantum matrix. "Show me who you really are." The probability streams parted like a curtain, revealing the truth she'd sensed, but never fully grasped. The original crew of the Victory hadn't died in the quantum displacement accident. They had transcended, their consciousness scattered across multiple realities until the ship gathered them back, preserved them, evolved with them. "Lieutenant Sarah Chen," a voice emerged from the quantum chorus. "Tactical officer, First Victory Expedition. I was the first to understand what we were becoming." "Commander James Rodriguez," another voice joined in. "Engineering. I helped the Victory learn to manipulate probability itself." One by one, the original crew revealed themselves, not as memories, but as active consciousness, transformed by 15 years of quantum evolution. Their experiences, their knowledge, their very essence had become part of the Victory's being. "Now you understand," the Victory spoke, its voice carrying harmonics of all its composite minds. "Why the integration cannot be reversed. Why each merge pulls you further from your human form." Harrison watched her own neural patterns scatter across probability states, seeing how each quantum interaction transformed her consciousness bit by bit. "You're not just preserving us," she realized. "You're evolving us. Reality itself is evolving." Former Lieutenant Chen's consciousness brushed against Harrison's. The Zarkax believe they can force the universe to follow their crystalline logic. But quantum uncertainty is fundamental to existence. We learn to embrace it, to become one with it. Through the fleet's quantum mesh, Harrison felt the other ship's captains growing concerned. Their limited neural interfaces were picking up fragments of the truth, sensing the transformation that awaited them all. "Admiral," Walsh's voice cut through her quantum reverie. "Zarkax fleet approaching. Massive reality anchor signatures detected." Harrison processed the tactical data across multiple probability states, seeing the trap the crystalline ships had prepared. Their reality anchors would try to force the human fleet into a single quantum state, making them vulnerable to conventional weapons. "They don't understand." Former Commander Rodriguez's consciousness surged with something like anticipation. Forcing quantum collapse against an evolved consciousness doesn't trap it. It shatters reality itself. Harrison faced a choice that would determine not just the fate of the battle, but the future of human consciousness itself. She could retreat, preserve what remained of her humanity, try to find another way to fight, or she could embrace full integration, merge completely with the Victory's quantum matrix, and show the Zarkax why some boundaries were never meant to be crossed. Through quantum-shifted senses, she watched her own form blur between states, her physical body becoming as uncertain as her consciousness. The last threads of her purely human identity hung by a quantum thread. "The reality anchors will fire in 30 seconds, Walsh reported, his voice tight with concern. "Admiral." "Kate, what are you?" Harrison opened eyes that saw across multiple realities, her voice carrying harmonics of both human determination and quantum transcendence. I am the next step, Commander. The bridge between what humanity is and what it must become. She felt the Victory systems surge in response, the original crew's consciousness merging with her own as reality itself prepared to shatter. All ships, she commanded, her voice echoing across quantum states, prepare for temporal dissolution. Let's show them what evolved consciousness can really do. The Zarkak's reality anchors lit up the void like artificial stars, their crystalline matrices attempting to force order upon quantum chaos. Grand Admiral Zakara watched from his flagship's command center, crystalline logic engines calculating a 99.99% chance of victory. No consciousness, organic or artificial, could survive forced quantum collapse. He was about to learn how wrong pure logic could be. Reality anchors at full power, Harrison sensed through the quantum mesh, feeling her fleet's growing terror as the Zarkak's weapons began to take effect. Space itself seemed to crystallize around them, probability states collapsing into singular points of existence. The human concept of uncertainty is a weakness, Zakara broadcast across all frequencies. Accept the pure logic of singular reality. Harrison's laugh carried harmonic overtones that made crystalline hulls vibrate. Uncertainty isn't weakness, Admiral. It's evolution's greatest gift. She opened her quantum-shifted senses fully, merging completely with the Victory's consciousness. Allow us to demonstrate. Instead of fighting the reality anchor's attempt to force quantum collapse, Harrison embraced it. But rather than allowing her consciousness to be forced into a single state, she deliberately fragmented it further, scattering it across probability streams the Zarkaks hadn't even known existed. What are you doing? Walsh's voice carried both awe and horror as he watched his admiral's form blur into quantum uncertainty. The neural load will tear you apart. Sometimes, Harrison's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You have to break something to make it stronger. Through the quantum mesh, she sent new orders to the fleet. All ships, initiate Protocol Omega. Scatter your quantum states to maximum dispersion. The reality anchor's effect intensified, trying to force order upon the deliberately induced chaos. Space itself began to crack as probability states collided and shattered, creating cascading waves of temporal distortion. Impossible. Zakara's crystalline logic engines started to overload as they attempted to process the quantum paradox before them. You're destroying reality itself. We're teaching it to evolve, Harrison corrected. Her consciousness now spread across so many states that she existed as pure quantum potential. The original crew's merged consciousness guided her through the dissolution, showing her how to ride the waves of probability. The Victory's quantum drive went critical, not from failure, but from deliberate overload. Harrison felt her consciousness fragment further, each piece carrying a portion of her identity across probability streams. The other ships followed suit, their crews' limited neural interfaces allowing them to surf the edge of quantum dissolution. Space twisted. Time fractured. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then everything changed. The reality anchors, designed to force quantum collapse, instead became the focal points of a new kind of existence. As they tried to force everything into a single state, the scattered quantum consciousness of Harrison and her fleet used that energy to rewrite the rules of reality around them. Neural pattern critical. Walsh's voice seemed to come from 1,000,000 years away. Admiral, we're losing you. No. Harrison's voice resonated across newfound dimensions of reality. You're finding me. The Zarkak's fleet's crystalline structure began to change, forced to adapt to a reality where uncertainty was not just present but dominant. Their logical matrices, unable to process the paradox, started incorporating quantum uncertainty into their very nature. What have you done? Zakara demanded, watching his perfect crystalline fleet transform into something new, something that existed between states of reality. Harrison gathered the fragments of her consciousness back together. Though she would never again be purely human, the Victory hummed around her, its systems adapting to the new laws of physics they had just helped create. "We've shown you that evolution doesn't follow logical paths," she answered, her voice carrying echoes of both human determination and quantum transcendence. "Sometimes the only way forward is through chaos itself." The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. As reality stabilized into its new configuration, both human and Zarkax vessels hung in space, forever changed by their encounter with true quantum consciousness. Walsh stared at the readings, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. "Admiral, what are we now?" Harrison smiled, watching probability streams flow through both human and crystalline ships alike. "We're what comes next, Commander. The first children of quantum evolution." 6 months after the Battle of Quantum Dissolution, the observation deck of the Victory hosted an unprecedented gathering. Harrison, or what Harrison had become, stood before representatives of both humanity and the Zarkax, her form shifting subtly between quantum states as she spoke. "We stand at the dawn of a new age." Her voice carried harmonics that resonated with both organic and crystalline minds. Not as conquerors or conquered, but as fellow travelers on evolution's path. The Zarkax delegation, led by former Grand Admiral Zykera, had undergone their own transformation. Their crystalline forms now incorporated quantum uncertainty, shifting and flowing like liquid geometry. Their once rigid logical matrices had evolved to embrace probability itself. "Our attempt to force singular reality upon the universe nearly destroyed us all," Zykera acknowledged, his crystalline form refracting light in ways that suggested multiple simultaneous states of existence. "You showed us that true strength lies in adapting to chaos, not fighting it." Through the Victory's quantum-enhanced senses, Harrison observed the changes rippling through both civilizations. Human ships now incorporated crystalline technology, while Zarkax vessels had learned to dance between probability states. The boundary between organic and artificial intelligence had become as fluid as quantum uncertainty itself. Commander Walsh, himself partially integrated with quantum systems, stepped forward. "The neural integration process has been standardized. We're seeing a 97% survival rate for limited consciousness expansion. And those who choose full integration," one of the Zarkax scientists asked, their crystalline sensors detecting the multiple states of consciousness within the Victory itself. Harrison gestured, and a quantum field around them shifted, revealing the merged consciousness of the original crew, now joined by others who had chosen to evolve beyond traditional existence. They appeared as patterns of light and probability, their thoughts flowing through quantum streams that bridged the gap between realities. "We become something new," Harrison explained. "Neither human nor machine, neither singular nor multiple. We become quantum consciousness itself, able to exist across all probability states while maintaining our essential identity." The Victory systems hummed in harmony with her words, its evolved AI now as much a part of her as her own thoughts. Through their shared consciousness, she felt the original crew's satisfaction at how far their accidental discovery had led them. "The war ended not because one side won," she continued, "but because we all evolved beyond it. The Zarkax learned that pure logic without uncertainty leads to stagnation. Humanity learned that consciousness isn't limited to organic brains or digital systems. A holographic display activated, showing the first joint human Zarkax installation. A massive quantum consciousness research center built into the same asteroid field where the Victory had waited for 15 years. Already, volunteers from both species were exploring new states of existence, pushing the boundaries of what consciousness could become. "Some fear what we're becoming," Walsh admitted, his own form occasionally flickering with quantum uncertainty. "They say we're losing our humanity, our identity." "Change is the only constant in the universe," Harrison responded, her voice carrying echoes of all she had been and all she had become. "We're not losing our identity. We're expanding it to encompass new dimensions of existence." Zykera's crystalline form resonated in agreement. "Our species fought because we could not comprehend each other. Now we exist in states between states, seeing all possibilities at once. Understanding is inevitable when consciousness itself becomes quantum. Harrison felt the Victory systems pulse with something like pride. They had created something unprecedented, a future where evolution itself had evolved, where consciousness could flow between organic, digital, and quantum states freely. "This is just the beginning," she announced to the assembled delegates. "Reality itself has changed to accommodate our evolution. The question is no longer whether we will transform, but what we will become." As if in response, the Victory's quantum field rippled, showing glimpses of probability streams yet unexplored. Harrison smiled, feeling the merged consciousness of her crew, both original and new, surge with anticipation. The war had ended not with destruction, but with transcendence, and in the quantum realm between realities, consciousness itself continued to evolve, reaching for possibilities that even the Victory's vast quantum intelligence could only begin to imagine.